Okay, welcome back to part 2 of Whose Foot? And we just finished reading the article, so now let's look at the comprehension questions. Okay, I'm going to cover up those answers because we're going to challenge ourselves. All right, here, I'm going to read the questions. What is the main idea of the article? Remember, that's what the article is mostly about. A, the units we use when we measure today are completely different from those we used hundreds of years ago. B, measuring things by the foot is hard because we don't know how big a foot is. Or, many ways of measuring were first based on the human body. Let's go back and look at our text. If it'll let me. Oh, there we go. I'm going to look at this sentence right here. Many other ancient measurements were based on the always handy human body. I know that B is the correct answer for this comprehension question because the article talks about many ways to measure using the human body. It talked about using a cubit, which was the elbow to the tip of your finger. It talked about a yard, which was from your chin to the tip of your finger. It talked about a fathom, which was the span of both your fingertips. And all of those are ways you're using your body. But everyone's body is a different size, which makes measuring difficult. That's why we needed things like rulers, yards, miles to help us measure things so we were all on the same page and we all had the same ideas. So if you said that the correct answer was C, many ways of measuring were first based on the human body, you were correct. Now, let's look at why might two ancient Egyptian surveyors measure the same pyramid and get two different lengths. So remember, a surveyor is someone who measures the land, and remember how ancient Egyptians decided to measure things using a cubit. A, paces are shorter than cubits. B, Egyptian paces are longer than Roman paces. Or D, the length of the surveyor's strides was different. So remember when I walked across my computer screen and I walked as a short person taking lots of strides, and then I walked like a taller person taking fewer strides. So our stride, the way we walk, how many steps we take is different. So the correct answer was C. Question 3. Why did the French revolutionaries develop the meter? Okay, so let's go back and let's look for those clue words. I'm looking for French revolutionaries and meter. Sometimes you don't even really need to understand what the question is asking if you can match clue words together. This is a good trick for people who, this article might be a little confusing or challenging for them. If you can match up words in the question to words in the article, it will give you a clue as to how to answer. So let's look. I'm looking for the term French Revolution or revolutionaries. Oh, I see it right at the bottom in paragraph 9. French revolutionaries. Some revolutionaries decided they needed revolutionary measurements. This new system didn't depend on king's feet and was divided easily by 10. So they invented the meter. All right, let's look. See what our answer choice could be. All right. Why did the French revolutionaries develop a meter? A, the number 10 was important to the revolution, so they needed a system that used multiples of tens. B, they needed to measure the distance between the North Pole and the equator. Or C, they didn't want a system of measurement that depended on the size of a king. When I look at A and then I look back at my text, the article never mentioned 10 being important. They just said that 10 was easy. So I can mark out question A. I know that that is not the correct answer. B said they needed to measure the distance between the North Pole and the equator. Well, while they did, they thought that distance was important, the real thing is that they used the distance between the North Pole and the equator and divided that by 10 to come up with the meter. So it really wasn't the correct answer. C, they didn't want a system of measurement that depended on the size of a king. That is the correct answer, because remember, the size of my foot and the size of Miss Jordan's foot is completely different. So if she measures a room, her measurement using her feet, her measurements would be different than if we measured it using my feet. So the French revolutionaries said that, we need a standard unit of measurement, something that everyone can use. So now we use a ruler, and that was on the first page of the PowerPoint. This is a ruler, and a ruler is 12 inches long. That's a foot. That's how long a foot is. Now, when I measured my foot's only 9 inches long. So, and Miss Jordan's is 14 inches long. So our feet measurements are different. That's why the French revolutionaries decided that to make a foot 12 inches. All right, let's go back. Come on, come on. You guys did a great job on that. I'm super proud of you. Now, we need to talk about, why did Liz Hyuk write this passage? And why is it important for us to know about standard forms of measurement? So, when we think about why an author writes an article or a text, any kind of book, we think about the author's purpose. Why did they write it? Why was it important for us to learn about it? So I'm going to look at the different types of text and why an author would write something. Was Liz Hyuk trying to persuade us? Was she trying to convince us to do or buy something? No, I don't think that's it. Was the purpose to inform, to give us more information to learn? Maybe that could be an answer choice, but I'm going to keep looking. The next option is to explain. The author wants to tell us how to do something or how it works. Well, did she really teach us how to measure? No, so I can eliminate that. The next choice is entertain. The author wants to amuse us, and they want us to enjoy the story. Well, I'm sure that Liz Hyuk would be happy if we enjoyed the story and we found it entertaining, but I don't think that was her main goal, so I'm going to eliminate that choice as well. Then, describe. The author wants us to visualize something using sensory details. Now, sensory, that's our 5 senses. And I don't feel like Liz Hyuk gave us a lot of descriptive language. And those are usually for stories, or if you're describing a product. So I'm going to say the author wanted us to learn, or wanted to inform us about standard measurement. And why is it important for us to know about standard forms of measurement? I think it's important for us to know about standard forms of measurement so that when we measure something like a house or a car or a wall, we all have the same measurements. And if we tell someone to walk 3 miles down the road, they know how far 3 miles is, and they end up in the correct spot. All right, so here's an opportunity to extend your learning. Pick a non-standard unit of measurement. So remember, non-standard are silly things. You could measure something using your phone, a remote, a pencil, and you can measure how tall or how wide something is. So I measured my wall using a pencil. I just lined it up and I measured it. And my wall is 25 pencils tall. Then I measured it using my phone, and my phone is just a little bit smaller than my pencil. And this was, to measure my wall using my phone, it was 26 phones. Now, when I measured it using a ruler, a 12-inch ruler, it was only 6 rulers, which was 6 feet. I'm sorry, that was wrong. It was 12 rulers, which is 12 feet. I don't know why I said 6. All right, so something fun that you can do is to pick a non-standard unit of measurement and measure anything in your house, your bed, your floor, anything you want. And then if you have a ruler or a piece of measuring tape, I want you to measure it using a foot and see the differences. Now let's listen to a story about, or I'm going to do part 3. And in our part 3, we're going to listen to a text to help us understand more about measurement. Bye guys, see you in part 3.